And welcome to another tradingfootball.eu video tutorial, and this time we're looking at a classic correct score jobby. This was a League 2 game between Burton and Macclesfield, far away from the Champions League and other more exotic international fixtures, and we took 8 selections on the correct score market: 0-0, 0-1, 0-3, 1-1, 1-2, 1-2, 2-1, and 3-1. The idea about a correct score trading, just the single market, is that we really want to look at making a sort of a 20% profit if we can. Conversely, we can be prepared to accept a 20% loss. Why 20%? Well, this basically means that we need to be right 6 times out of 10 or 3 times out of 5. So we can afford, if you like, to lose twice and yet still be ahead if we win the other 3 out of the 5. Why these particular scorelines? Well, we looked at the stats and saw that Macclesfield, they looked like they could get something out of the game. Burton had 4 defenders out for this particular fixture, so the correct score selections were slanted towards the away side, Macclesfield, who were trading at the off as the underdog at 3.2 in the match odds market. Now, Macclesfield actually scored within the first 3 minutes, which was kind of good news for us, really, because it meant our pre-match judgment was correct, and we had a number of score lines now that we could look at with a view to laying off. The 0-1, 0-3, 1-1 possibly, certainly the 1-2 and the 1-3, and all of those score lines you can see have actually come in, except of course the 0-1. Now that actually drifted because the goal was scored so early. Now you might think at this point, well, why back 0-1? Surely there's going to be more goals. Well, yes and no. But the price that we took after that first goal, back 0-1 at 12s. So that would give us a nice bit of leverage should the score stay 0-1 for some time. So back the 0-1. Our danger's obviously therefore, as we stand, a 0-2. 1-0 and 0-0 are now dead, which is okay. And you can see all of the green score lines there, which are sort of working in our favour. Underneath the 2-2 that you can see at the bottom of the screen there, all of the higher score lines, we've got our sort of red liability on those, and we'll deal with that in a minute. And there we can see we've got a £104 liability. So when I said earlier on about the 20% figure, we're looking to make sort of about £20 on this particular trade, or as I said, conversely, we can be prepared to lose £20. So we've got a £104 liability. If a goal's scored, and it is in our favour, the first thing we want to do when correct score trading, correct score market trading, is to try and see if we can reduce that liability, if we can. So we put in our figures on, we do a kind of a what-if scenario. So there we are. I'm looking at laying the 0-1, 0-3, the 1-1, the 1-2, the 1-3, and also the 2-1. All of those prices have actually come in since the kickoff. We're making our first move here, which is reducing our red, and we've laid, as you can see, 0-1, 0-3, 1-2, 1-3, and 2-1. Now we're not reducing our red kind of by 50%, but we want to sort of chip away at this sort of £100, £104 liability we've got. These remain unmatched. Ideally, I would like these to be taken, but it perhaps doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm frantically clicking on the refresh button there as though that might help. Push the push the backers into taking my price. Now this is the first move that we generally would like to make, in a correct score trade like this, i.e. reducing the red. Now if that's not possible, then we'll have to sort of think of something else. And that could easily be backing some of those score lines in which we do have a red figure. The 2-all that you can see there at the bottom of the screen, we've got a £102 liability there. It was trading at about 20s, 21s pre-match. It's come now into 10s after that early first goal. We'd like to do something about that. That's probably the most obvious danger scoreline we've got at the moment. But the price is not that attractive, so I'm not going to do anything with that 2-2 just yet. I have in my mind to perhaps look at the under 4.5 market and perhaps lay that. We'll come on to that in a minute or two. There we see the 0-1 lay has been matched. Now we see we've got this huge green on the 0-3 and an equally big green on the 1-3. Now ideally you want to get rid of some of that green, just in case, of course, the home side equalise, and you don't want to lose out on the possible lay of that 0-3. If it goes to 1-1, then you've lost all of that. So it would be nice to have used that leverage of that sort of 170 odd pounds we've got of that 0-3. It's still a bit too high, frankly, for my liking, and we can lay it for what, £4 or £5. I'm going to hold off a little while on that, and I flicked over to the match odds, the other market there, just to see is there any purchase there, perhaps in laying Macclesfield. We don't have that much cover on the 1-1, just sort of £22 there. Now, I've scratched the 2-1 lay, don't really fancy that. I've come back to the 0-3 and the 1-3. That's where our sort of biggest green is, so we want to kind of try and reduce that green and therefore increase our green onto the other scores. Decided again to get rid of the some of that 1-3 there. There's about £3 left. I think I'd rather keep that, because if it does go to 1-1, then that 1-3 will come in from its current price of 15s, and we can again use the nice green on that. So I got rid of the extra lay there. I scrubbed that. Okay, so now we're looking at, we've got a sort of £40, £41 on the 0-1, which is nice. We're a bit shy on the 0-2. That's what we didn't back at pre-match. So I've just backed that for £5 at 10.5. And what I'm aiming to do throughout this whole trade is stick to this 20%, this sort of magical 20% figure. And all the while I want to be looking at, this is going to be, if you like, my sort of pivotal figure that I'm aiming for, either as a win profit or as a 20% loss. Okay, so I've covered some of the 0-2, that's okay, that's reduced some of the green on the other figures, of course, but we've still got this problem of the higher score lines. The 2-2, 3-2, 3-1 even to Burton, 3-all. So I've decided to lay the under 4.5 at 1.26 for £50. Okay, that's duly matched. So now it gives me an extra liability of £13 on that particular market. And I must now remember to factor that in to all the other red scores I've got. And there, consequently, I need to deduct that £13 red there from any particular profit on those green score lines that you see. Okay, suspended. Actually, there was nothing happening there. So we're still on 0-1. Something either happened on the pitch or perhaps even one of the Betfair staff just nipped out for a quick cup of tea or something. So it's still 0-1. And we're approaching about the 35th minute now, the 35th, 40th minute. And now you might think it's a slightly odd thing to do. I'm looking for a cheap lay in the half-time market here. But no, the favourites are playing at home. There's a good chance they could get an equaliser. And if they do, I need to bear in mind that the big green I've got of 0-3 will be completely lost. So I'm actually going to lay this 0-1. And, well, bingo, we can say. About 3 minutes after that lay got matched on the half-time score market very cheaply, it cost me £4, I actually managed to win 20 as Burton equalised in the 45th minute. I just put another quick lay in again for £10 at 1.1, and as you can see there on the 0-1 figure scoreline, I probably missed that lay by about a minute, and that would have given me an extra £10 onto that. So that's kind of very useful for us because we've now got sort of a bonus of £20 green that we can take back with us into the correct score market. And that £20, in effect, sort of takes care of that under 4.5 liability we've got, which you remember was £13. So that's a nice little bonus we've got to carry with us into the second half. When you've got this kind of green figure over a number of correct score selections, looking for very cheap lays, particularly in the half-time score market, is not a bad idea, simply because it happens to be quite cheap, and it can always give you, as I say, that extra kind of bonus, that extra green that you can sort of carry forward into your main market, which is what we're looking at now, the correct score one. So it's sort of back to work, and I've decided to look at laying some more. I'm considering that 1-1 won't be the final score, and I can afford to lay this 1-1 and some other score lines here with the dual effect, of course. It's going to be adding some green to various score lines, and I've got always this £20 figure from the half-time score profit that we made. So I'm leaving myself that nice bit of green on the 1-3. I can afford to look at 1-1 as a potential scratch trade. Again now looking to cover the higher score lines with an extra additional lay on the under 4.5 market. I'll leave that for a second. It's a little bit too high just at the moment. So as it stands, okay, 1-1, which is sort of a virtual zero figure on that, but that would give us a £7 profit, in fact, should it actually remain 1-1 after 90 minutes. Okay, I decided against the additional under 4.5 lay because it's just a little bit too high there. It's at 1.3. So as an alternative, I'm looking at backing 2-3 and 3-2. Now this would be quite nice if either of those two scores came in, because remember we have a £50 green on the over 4.5 market. So that will be giving us a profit somewhere in the region of what, £50 less 16, as you can see there on the 2-3. If that was the final score, that would give us a £34 profit. All the other greens there you can see 1-2, 1-3, 2-1. They're looking good. All we have to do there is just remember to deduct our £13 liability on the under 4.5 that we have, but we can add that £20 green that we made on the half-time score market. So we're gradually chipping away. Remember we had sort of £102 liability at the start of this game, so we're taking some of that off little by little. The 3-3 is a big danger there. That doesn't look very nice. The any unquoted just off the screen, that'll be the same. And our most obvious danger now really is the 2-2. I don't want to back that at 8s. I've got some nice cover on the 3-1 now because I've just backed that. And once it does go to, if it does go to 3-1, well, of course I do have some very nice kind of £50 green leverage on the over 4.5 market, which I can use should it go to that particular score. Again, I'm buying cheaply, so I put £3 there on 3-3. £2 I should say. Going for 80s, remember there, look, it was offered at 55s to back. Don't take the first price you see. Put in a higher price if you can. And there we are. We've got 75s. Always quite tempting when you decide you want to back something or lay something to actually take the price that's on offer. And ask for a price first, and very often you'll get matched. The game's getting into the second half. It's kind of underway now. We're on about 55, 60 minutes. Now, at this point, I've decided that instead of just having a scratch on the 1-1, which it would be as it stands with a £10 liability on there, I'm going to back it now. And I'm also thinking of trying to scalp this 1-1-2. Seeing if I can get matched at 3.55. And I just want to take one or two ticks if I can. Back it at 3.55, lay at 3.45 for the same figure. An extra £10 on the 1-1. Looks like I've missed it though, unfortunately. Yeah, you're not going to get that bingo, mate. Okay, forget that idea. You're probably noticing that, I mean, this is a trade, correct score jobby, we can call it. You're at it all the time. You really are having to look at what you want to do. You can change your mind. Then you've got to think of other alternatives. But what you've got, it underpins the whole trade. And I repeat this again, is this 20% figure. So I'm just constantly looking at how I can eke out a few more pounds here and there, still keep this 20% sort of on side. Seeing if there's any purchase I can get here by some scalping on the draw. There's a fair amount of liquidity there, and I was a bit slow. I should have been a lot more decisive, really, and to taken a price and done a quick kind of scalp on that on the match odds. I didn't do that. Right, so I'm back again to one of the first ideas, which was to buy something cheaply. So I've laid the under 4.5 again. Now, the effect that that's going to do is that will leave about a £5 loss now overall if it stays at 1-1. I've got rid of one of the bigger dangers with that lay that second layer, the under 4.5, which is the higher score lines. We've got about 80, 81 pounds still red on the sort of score lines like 2-2, 2-3, 3-2, 3-3. So that's kind of covered by this £100 green I've got now on the over 4.5 market. 1-1. I'm going to be backing this for £10. I want to put another back in there as well. So there we have, that's £6 green now on the 1-1. So let's have a quick kind of recap. I'm putting another bet in as well. I mean, all the time I'm looking at the 1-2 and the 2-1, for example. They're the next two scores that could possibly happen. And those nicely cover this 20% figure I'm looking at. So what I'm going to have to do at this point is, by backing the 1-1, I want to increase my green on that to get nearer to this 20% should it stay at 1-1. Obviously that's going to reduce the profit on 1-2 and 2-1. So now the calculation is quite simple. The under 4.5 liability of £20 is covered exactly by that £20 profit we made on the half-time score market. So now we can just look at all of those green figures there, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 2-1, and all of that is basically profit. Ideally, a goal to Macclesfield would be handy to make it 1-2, because that would then bring the 1-3 into play, which you've got sort of a £59 profit on there. Very nice. Now I have to look at what was the danger we highlighted at half-time, which is the 2-2. Now, I didn't want to back it then at 8. Now I'm deciding I can back that a little bit more cheaply, and I'm asking 13.5 for that. Okay, so that's reduced the 2-2 from its original figure of around about £81 at half-time, and that's coming now to sort of a £48 red. Doesn't leave us a profit on that score, but depending on the timing of the goals, and if it does go to 2-2, hopefully not too late, then I've got that £100 leverage on the over 4.5 market. Okay, that's nicely done. So if it does go to 2-2 very, very late and I can't do anything with the over 4.5, then I've got about a £16 loss on the 2-2. 1-1, okay, I'm looking at an £8 profit there. 1-2, that's a £20 profit, so that's my 20%, that's okay. 2-1, that's a 10% profit. 1-1, about a 9% profit. I'm going to back this again. This is what you're seeing now. This is what all of us experience. We're chasing the price, and this horrible kind of 8 seconds that we have to wait. I asked for 1.85. I didn't get that. I'm going to do it again. Well, what's this? I'm going to lower it a couple of ticks. 8 seconds goes. Refresh. Bang. I've missed that. 1.8. I'm going to get matched on this. So I'm chasing the price down. That's always a little bit frustrating. That, bang, and missed that again. So, I've missed, about kind of £3 or £4 here. Whereas if I just stuck in a price at 1.8, 1.81 straight away, instead of 1.85, I would have got matched. As it happens, I'm having to chase this price. I've eventually got matched at 1.73. So that now brings our 1-1 up to £14, which we can call that 14%. 1-2 is okay, that's still 20%. And the 2-1, that gives us about 11%. I want to bump up that 2-1, so I'll backing that just for a minimal £2, 5.3. So that brings us up to our 20% figure on the 2-1. Lowers our 1-1 profit to 12%, 12.5%. 1-2, that's about 18%. Okay, a lot of people perhaps doing an SHS trade at this point. 75 minutes they would have perhaps laid the 1-1 or laid the draw. Well done to them. And it's Macclesfield, right, with about 5 minutes remaining. Probably it is going to be too late really to do anything with that 1-3. There you see the huge gaps there. I don't want to lay that to 17, so I'll put in a cheeky price of 4s, you never know. The point is, that's the price that we want to lay it at. You don't know. I mean, there's a backer that really might want to be desperate to take any price at all to get him out of some kind of trouble. So just shove in your price and see what you can get. Obviously, asking for 4s was a little ambitious. Okay. Now it's 1-2. So our next new danger, of course, immediate danger becomes a 2-2 again. So we're going to have to back that. Now I've asked for 12s, only 7s is being offered. So it's again slightly ambitious on my part. But unbelievably, very nicely, someone actually took the 12s. And just in time too, as the score went to 2-2. With about 3 minutes left to play. Now, we're looking kind of, it's become very, very interesting. We've got that 2-3 and the 3-2, which we backed earlier, just after half time, and our over 4.5 market can really come into play. 2-2 now gives me about a £13 loss. So that's why I'm trying to get something out of this 2-3 and 3-2. And there we have that lovely red suspended sign for all the hard work we've just done over the last 90 minutes. Okay, in fact it's Burton that scored. Deep into injury time. 4.5 goals. The market's now closed, we've won £100 there. And that's the flash score confirmation. Now it's suspended here, but what I desperately want to do, of course, is actually to lay the 3-2 here, because any unquoted would wipe out all of our profit. So 3-3 would be great, of course, but we want to make sure that we don't get caught out by a fourth Burton goal. So I'm going to lay in here very quickly. £40. Am I going to take? What price am I going to take? 1 point. Right, I'm going to forget the lay of the 3.2, but rather back the any unquoted. Slightly cheaper. Asking for 9.8. About a minute left to go in the game. Take that, please, quickly. And okay, so that's taken. So at least final goal in the last 60 seconds won't kill us, and that will leave us about a £50 profit on that. Always when you're trading, you just play safe. Don't get greedy. You've got to put that final lay in, even though it looks kind of ridiculous with 30 seconds to play. You'd rather lose £4 than lose 50. So, quick £2. This is the very death here. And normally, you've got the odds there. It's what you can see, 1.06, 1.1. Doesn't necessarily signify the end of the match. However, there it is. Final score 3-2. Now, just a quick recap. We've got £63 red on the actual score. We've won £100 on the over 4.5 market. And we've won £20 on the half-time score market. Take off our 5% commission. And we're left with about a £50 profit for the trade. And our stakes and liability at the beginning of the trade was £100. So that's a nice round 50% profit made on that particular trade.